"Where'd she go?" he asked aides, confused. He liked that story. He has told it over and over again in the years since. Obama shouldn't have been surprised. She was a pioneering force for feminism, an icon of America's shift into the 21st century, and the most successful woman in the history of American politics. But she was also the frozen-faced embodiment of Democrats as Democrats. All the good and bad qualities of government, all the promises it had made that hadn't addressed what was actually happening in the country. There was racism and sexism and xenophobia and nativist paranoia particular to Trump, the overnight pop culture icon who'd wheedled his way into the public consciousness to the point of becoming an easy joke on sitcoms. But the core of Trump's campaign was the same as the core of Bernie Sanders' campaign, and it was the same as what had been the core of Obama's campaign against her. Change you can believe in. That 2008 slogan was just a shorter way of saying what Trump had charged her with in their first debate. Secretary Clinton and other politicians should have been doing this for years, not right now, because of the fact that we've created a movement. Voters went with the outsider they hated over the insider they despised. Obama would have been able to make more sense of Clinton's losing if it hadn't been to a man he thought of as a moronic carnival barker who brought out the worst in people, and whom he'd never forgive for turning a fringe obsession with his birth certificate into an issue he'd had to address from the White House briefing room in 2011. At the beginning of September, after a briefing to discuss how Trump was apparently bouncing back from yet another scandal, at that point it was the outrage of insulting Khizr Khan's Gold Star military family, and how Clinton could never seem to make up any ground, Obama was starting to get exasperated. His order? Fix it. Do you really want a psychopath sitting at that desk? He'd asked. Find a way to break through to voters. Get someone to listen. But of course she was going to win. If he'd had any doubts about it, he never would have appeared on Jimmy Kimmel's show just a few weeks before the election and done Kimmel's standard bit of having a guest respond to mean tweets. He read an infamous one from Trump. President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States, and replied, well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president, and then glared right into the camera and dropped the prop iPhone. He never really even considered Clinton could lose. Until those last few days, the crowds didn't feel right. The previous Friday in North Carolina, they were into him in Fayetteville, but they were more into booing an old man in what might have been an old army jacket who'd gotten up and started waving a Trump lawn sign. He couldn't get them to stop, to listen, shouting, "Hold up!" into the microphone over and over. "I told you to be focused, and you're not focused right now," he said. A couple of hours later in Charlotte, the rally hadn't been interrupted, but it didn't feel right to him. They wanted to see him. They wanted to beat Trump, but they didn't seem to be thinking much about her. At first, he, like Clinton, blamed the lingering legacy of the long, brutal primary she'd been through in the spring. Bernie hurt her more than I realized, he told an aide that day. The only response from the Clinton campaign was all their data, their voter turnout models, their polls and data and data and data. It was going to be a crappy, bitter win, especially after the Comey letter, but they'd done the math, and it was going to be a win. Like everything else she'd ever done, she was going to have to grind it out, aim to be less hated, not loved. Trump would turn out his votes, she'd turn out hers. It would be fine. "I don't know," Obama would respond, hesitantly. With Wisconsin, he knew. Joe Biden spent most of that night watching the results for the House and Senate candidates for whom he'd campaigned. As each race was called, he got each one of them on the phone. Winners, losers, all got the same line. You ran a hell of a race. Only late into the night,